Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bourbon Over Baseball. I'm Jeff, and we've got Matt here as well.
What's going on?
So we talked, or I should say, I talked a little bit about the upcoming league that we were doing through Tabletop Simulator, through TTS, playing remotely, which was using the 2020 set that Matt was a part of creating. So we just drafted. We've actually got a full video of that draft. It's like 2.5 hours. I think that's going to be the deep cut if anybody wants to listen to that. But there's some fun insights. It's also R-rated, so just fair warning. Trying to cut down on the swearing, at least on these ones. So, wanted to, usually what we did was do a massive, gigantic, 2-hour breakdown of that draft and the teams. And given that there's more teams now, we're up to 12. The draft was pretty extensive, and I think there's a lot in the draft that's just fun by itself. We're actually going to break this out so that it's just doing the draft right now, and then potentially we might do some team breakdowns by division. So potentially 4 podcasts coming. We're already probably going to be moving on the league a little bit by the time we do those, but I think it'll be at least fun kind of intro to this. So and definitely looking into the draft. So for anybody that doesn't know what league, how we're running this league and everything, I did a video breakdown, basically just going through the rules and the setup of it, which I'll either throw in the link below or at the link at the end. So take a look at that. I think it's useful just to kind of, even if you play Showdown differently than we do, it's interesting to kind of, I think, to see how we play in our particular way, and the rules are being tinkered and changed a little bit. And it definitely matters when it comes to who gets drafted and things like that. So anyway, Matt, anything I'm missing there?
No, I think I think the best thing that I've learned from the Discord and just the TTS in general is everybody plays different. So like when you combine them all, it makes things more fun, a little more confusing, but it can always help the leagues get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that's great about this league that I'm really excited about is that we have 5 new players that I've never seen their strategies and what they do and how they play and how they draft. And now I kind of do have a great feel of that. But it's going to be interesting. Like there's some teams that I think, did the best, and some of them are new. And I think that's just awesome. And I'll speak for myself, just as kind of a team that's, a guy who's been playing in a lot of these. I'm trying some weird stuff. Like I don't know if what my strategy is going to work, but I just figured, I've been enough of these leagues. I'm not going to just do the same thing. I want to try something else. And actually, speaking of Discord, always have to plug that. We have a great Discord, about 100 guys talking Showdown on a daily basis. Guys and girls, I should say, more guys than girls, but any girls we would welcome. But if anybody wants to join, I'll throw the invite in the link below, or in the description below. Yeah, it's a great space for that. I'm sure we talk baseball literally all the time. It's really reinvigorated my love for the game. Really just chatting with all the guys in there. So, all that said, I'd say let's get into the draft. So, talking really quickly about the 2020 set. I've mentioned this before. I think Matt can speak more to that. It is fun as hell. It is weird as hell. It is just I think it's just oozing personality. Just
it's oozing 2020.
Yeah, it's oozing. It's just so many things. It's 2020. It's a Showdown 2020 set. I don't know if there's any other way to put it.
No, it's weird.
I mean, like the really quick notes on it is that it's very pitcher heavy and great pitcher heavy, because pitchers went out there and only pitched 6 games, 6 or 7. And so in a small sample size, you could do fantastic. It's funny because we've always talked about how our Showdown leagues that we do, we get these insane performances, aka Mike Bordick, and basically 2020 was like that, that we're playing these small sample size Showdown leagues, and then we had a small sample actual baseball, and like look what happened. So
yeah, like if you think about it, they played 60 games. So if a pitcher pitches every 5 days and he was healthy enough to make every start, he only at the most had 12 starts.
Right. I don't know if
I haven't looked through it. There's probably a couple, but
right, but most of them were, I mean, I think
we'll see what baseball tells us.
I don't remember what Bauer, so Bieber and Bauer were the number 1, 2 in terms of points and best pitchers. I mean, Bieber by the end, I think he was 8-1. So he must
Mhm.
have had 9 or 10 starts, but yeah, anyway, there's a lot of great hitters too, I should say. It's slightly more balanced, but I mean, there's some heavy hitters. I mean, I would say it is really all over the place. So, and since our guys, I would say really, really kind of perfected the formulas on this one. I would say this is probably the best version of the sets we've ever had. Because they're so spot on, there wasn't really a ton of value. It was really people just finding value in what they perceived was value, rather than
Yeah.
like, this guy should be 100 or 200 points instead of 150, right? That just didn't happen as much. So,
And to go back to what we were just saying, 4 guys had 13 starts, and about 30 of them had 12. So
and who were the 4 that had 13? Do you see them?
it was Lance Lynn, Kyle Freeland, Herman Marquez, and Brandon Woodruff.
Interesting. And I think like 2 of those guys had Woodruff, and whoever the second one you brought up. I think
Lynn was a good one.
I think they all had pretty good cards. So anyway, it's a weird set. So, well, let's get into the draft. I mean, all that said, I think that there was no clear consensus number 1. I figured the top 5 would go pretty much who the top 5 players are, and that wasn't the case. So the number 1 pick, which was a little bit of a surprise, was Ronald Acuna Jr. So the team who drafted this, the mighty Muskie Minotaurs, it's a buddy of ours, Matt H. He usually does pitcher teams, like pitcher heavy, like way pitcher heavy, and then just kind of fills everything else in. And it was interesting, and he explained it during the draft that he drafted a team pre-pandemic that we never got to play out, where he just decided to say, basically, screw it, not going pitching. I'm getting as many hitters as possible. And he kind of did that. He spent almost like 80% of his points on his first like 6 or 7 picks or something, kind of a little wild, but I think Acuna was probably not my number 1. I don't think he probably would have been my number 4 or so, just in my strategy coming in here. But I get it. I mean, he accomplishes so many things at once, which I always think is important. The defense, the speed, the on base is great. His chart is all right, but it's definitely not awful or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's funny because that you're saying that. So when I started planning out my team, he was literally my number 1. If I had the first overall pick, that's what I would have taken.
Really, that's funny. Yeah, we'll see.
Because I wanted to focus more on speed because of Bob's league.
Yeah.
Rules. Oh, I guess we transferred Bob's league speed rules into this league, but the speed rules of getting the bonuses, and it's like he has a lot of pop. But what kind of towards the end where I started going away from it was when you get an outfielder +2, you're paying for multiple positions of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so he costs more. Like if there's a similar card left field, right field, he probably only would have been like 560 or 570-ish points. Right. So it's like that type, like when you think of that from like I'm only going to play him in one spot because I'm not like moving guys around that often. So it's like, it's not as worth it.
Right. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, this is like when we did our 2001 NL only, my first pick was Bobby Abreu. And basically using the rules that, even though my team was god awful and Bobby Abreu was the worst, this is just better Bobby Abreu. It's better chart Bobby Abreu. It's basically same defense, same speed, same on base, just a slightly better chart. So I get it. And like, I feel also strongly about when you locking up that leadoff hitter with your first pick, like a guy like, there's no downside to it. There's absolutely no downside. He should do really well. If he's on my team, he doesn't. But if he does really, Acuna's probably going to do great. He's going to get on base. He's going to steal a shit ton of bases. Especially, I already broke the swearing rule. Damn it. Especially since the catchers in this set are not good. The catcher defense, the arms are bad. And so really Acuna is going to steal every single time he gets on base and max out. I mean, Matt should be maxing out the steals probably just with Acuna alone. So anyway, interesting first pick. I think it leads into number 2, who is probably my number 1, which was Juan Soto. This card is just incredible. Don't love the no defense, but on base 11, 1-2 out, which is the part that that's where I started drooling. And then, I mean, his chart, he's single pluses at 14. You know, I get he's not a speed A, but that rules. You know, a lot of walks, but man, I just don't think you can go wrong with him.
No, and that's what's funny with like he missed like some of the season too. So when he he just played like insane to end the season. And it's like he's incredible because when you think about 11 on base is already super high, and then
Right.
only 2 outs. Like his on base percent was like 480 or 490. It was something really high, and he was just fantastic.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, a baseball podcast, called, I think it's called Baseball Barbecue. It's by The Ringer, which The Ringer is annoying sometimes, but that their league specific podcasts are great. I just don't like Bill Simmons basically, but they were talking about how we were kind of like robbed of like, I mean, Soto would have probably, if he played those extra like 10 or 12 games last season, he was probably MVP. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's goes without saying, just given how his stats were over like 47 or 6 games when he played. But yeah, my God, dude, like this card is just bananas. And this is drafted by another new guy, by our buddy Nick, the Big Dogs. So there's a lot of cards in the set, this one included. I just like excited to see how they do, you know. And like, I mean, again, we're talking cards, we're not even talking real people, but like to us they feel like real people that are just, you know, with their real people being converted over to a card form that feel like real people. Does that sound right? I don't know.
yeah.
What are we talking about? All right, so third pick. This is your pick, Matt. So why don't you walk us through? Do you want me to hit it?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it. You talk through it.
So basically, I kind of explained it. You asked me in our actual draft why I went with them, and I just like the power, obviously, and it's basically the Griffey card from the original set. Obviously, he's not a speed A, he can't play center field, so he's 70 points cheaper. And I just thought, you know, I'm gonna take this big bat that I'm gonna hit second in my lineup, and I don't know. I kind of bought into the Arozarena hype last year too, because that was tons of fun in the playoffs.
Right?
But like,
we're talking
he does
Randy.
a lot well.
Right. We're talking, for anybody listening, this is Randy Arozarena. I'm with you that we both kind of fed into the hype, and like, you know, watching, I don't know what game it was, but the one
All
where they
of
hit the
them.
walk
He hit a
off.
homer in all
Really,
of them.
all of them. Yeah, like for them, but the walk off was like one of my favorite
Yeah.
sports moments I think I've seen watching and live. But you're right. I mean, if you look at it from the Griffey angle, it's crazy how much value and like how good this card is for what you're spending.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the on base 9 is great. Like, you know, speed. So for everybody listen, like usually the speed is more variable. This was a weird year with not much statistics, so it was hard to
They didn't separate from each other like they normally would.
Right. So it felt like, and actually I love the decision. It was a great opportunity to just kind of lump them back into almost a retro decision to speed B, speed A, and speed C's. So, but man, 1-4 out, not bad, especially since there's no ground ball. I think the biggest thing here, there's two big things, I guess I should say. Like the single at 8 is great, and a single plus at 13 is also great. Especially single plus for a speed B is great because again, the catchers are bad. I mean, there's only one catcher, I think, in this entire set. It's Roberto Perez with a plus 14 arm that is definitively never going to be stolen on. Everyone else is fair game. You know, that guy spent the money to basically never get stolen on. But everyone else is like, we're talking, most of them average out, I would say, to a plus 5 arm.
Yeah, so, mine's a 5. So,
right. Mine's also, I think most of them are 5. So, all right. So, fourth pick overall. This was our buddy Nate. He actually joined our 2001 NL only league halfway through when we were looking for someone to fill a spot that was opened up. So, really glad he did. He's been awesome to play with. He's really into the game. I think we talked yesterday. I think he's played more Showdown than any of us this year, just with his buddy. He's just really into it, and it's great. But his fourth pick, which I love the pick, is Ke'Bryan Hayes. So I think there was a lot of feelers that Ke'Bryan could go number 1. There's a lot of reasons why that might be the case. He's 1-3 out, which is great. Much like Arozarena, he singles at 8. Single plus is great, starting at 14, on base 10. His infield defense is okay, but who cares about infield defense? I don't.
Yeah.
I think in terms of somebody crunch numbers, in terms of value based on this, this was the bet. They're not like value, just straight value, but like the top players kind of in terms of their points and like what you're getting back. I think Hayes was actually the number one. So talking to Nate, I don't think he expected to see him there at 4. And it was an absolute no-brainer pick for him to get it at 4. So love this card though. Love this card. I picked 12th. I was psyched about the 12th because I love the back-to-back. I knew there was no way he was falling there, but my God, I would have loved if he did. So, all right. So getting to number 5, this is actually another buddy of ours, new to the league. His name is Kyle G. And this was the first time I've played a handful of Showdown games with him. This is my first time seeing him draft out. And he took Trevor Bauer. Not a crazy surprise there. The slight spoiler alert on his team is that he went pitcher heavy. It's funny, we talked about it. He did the strategy I would usually do when I'm like kind of playing it safe. Not saying he played it safe, but like my usual strategy is just get 4 incredible pitchers and then just like try to build around that. Right. So I love this pick. I mean, he's incredible. Yeah. I mean, he's the IP7 in a season when there was not a lot of high IP starting pitchers, which there aren't.
No.
I mean, unless he blows up, I mean, this guy should be winning every single game he pitches.
And even if he doesn't win, you're probably at the worst going to use one reliever.
Yep.
If he at least, because you can probably, if he doesn't give up the 4 runs, you can run him to it as a 4 for the 8th inning. And if you're winning by good enough, you can run him as a 3 and save your entire bullpen when that's really going to matter in this league.
Right. No, and like to catch everybody up, we changed our reliever rules, tiring rules that basically if you pitch over your set IP in one game, you're out the next. So if you have an IP1 reliever, you pitch him 2 innings, he's out the next game immediately, no question. If you pitch your reliever 2 straight games at their normal IP, just at their normal IP, then they're out the 3rd. So this is a new rule, kind of tinkering. I think it put a lot more focus on high IP starters and just getting good relievers
that we didn't have.
Right. No, and that's like, I think that's the one thing, like, I'll get to my strategy, but I might have messed up already. I just don't know. And like, that's kind of why I wanted to feel this out. And I think as we start playing with the set, you definitely start to get this distinct personality of how the set works. There's so many IP6 and IP7 guys in the original sets, because that's what the game was back then. But now there's a ton of IP3 and 4 starters, which is just bananas. But I love the Bauer pick. A little surprised he fell to 5, but I get he's a ton of points, so I get why that happened. But all right, so getting number 6. So this is our buddy AJ. He was in our in-person leagues. He finally decided to join for TTS, and his pick was Jacob deGrom. My guess is that he would have taken Bauer, especially as a big Cleveland guy, or at least formerly, Cleveland guy, but, or at least Bauer was, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, deGrom is, again, the high control, high IP, good chart. I don't love the 16 walk, but I get it. And yeah, this is a solid card.
Yeah. I mean, this is like Kurt Schilling's card from the original, but 2 IP less.
Right. It's really just going to come down to if they hit and walk on your chart. I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, it's still 20% of rolls are going to be a hit, with 25 getting on base. So,
but 90% of the time it should be on his chart.
Right. So we'll see. This one, I mean, I think it's a good pick. I probably would have gone differently if I was trying to get that number 1 lockdown starter, but I get it. So, all right, next pick was Garrett Cole. So this was picked by a team that guy had to pick the team, but he had to bail out of the league. So we've got some other guys filling in. Interesting strategy with taking Cole number 1 first round. I think this was probably one of the most talked about cards in our general Discord about the league. I mean, I think it's worth the money. I think it's a great pick. I don't know if it's a first rounder. I don't know if it doesn't go to this pick, does it fall second round? I think it probably does.
I
But
don't think it does because somebody already said they would have taken him.
really, so
Yeah.
because that's wild. I mean, if this, I mean, I was not doing a pitcher strategy, but I would not have taken this card, even if it got to me at 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But so like there's been definitely a reoccurring theme that has shown up in the entire draft, which is that home run pitchers that give up home runs are okay. And by okay, I mean, like, given the point reduction you get on it, it's worth the risk. And we've seen that. I mean, we had one team that did it in our NL only league, the Win Dance Repeat, and they won the league, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's because they gave up the home. I mean, it's just, again, there was trade-off there. But I would say now, I think 3 or 4 teams out of the 12 solidly went with a home run pitcher strategy, including myself.
And I think, like, and I've equated this to other sports. When something wins, it becomes a copycat league. You know, nobody wanted all these 3-point shooters until the Golden State Warriors just went off. Yep. And, you know, nobody was going small big men until, you know, like Miami Heat, you know, and all of a sudden they started, you know, oh, we're going to stretch the floor. Bosh is going to shoot. Like, that wasn't a thing. So, like, and you see that in our league. Like, Greg had great results. So everybody hopped in, like, hey, let's test this out.
Right. And it's interesting because, like, there's no better way to there's no better method of flattery, you know, than people just copying, you know. But I think it really did. I mean, some of the best pitchers in that league were pitchers that gave up home runs, just because they still had great charts ignoring the home run, and then their controls were high. This is where we talk about the tier matters. Basically, I think what is Garrett Cole, is he a tier 1? He's a tier 1.
22, yeah, tier 1.
Tier 1. He's a tier 1 for 460, which is just insane because most tier 1s are in the mid 500s. So going to be really interesting because, like, I think that there's definitely the home run pitcher thing is not going to work out for some teams without question, but it's probably going to work out for some. You
All
know?
It takes is if somebody rolls 320s in the first 3 innings, and then you're in trouble.
then it's game over. Kind of. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of expecting that for my team, but I'm just hoping I can hit enough home runs to counter it. I don't know. It's going to be a weird season. So, all right. Well, getting to number 8. This is another friend, or buddy Lasky, friends with Nate. Joined him and Nate play Showdown all the time in person. I need to send me their dozens and dozens of games so I can get them logged for the whole year. And I do like his 8th pick, which was DJ I don't think I've ever said his last name out loud because I don't think I know how to LeMahieu, right?
LeMahieu.
I don't think I've ever said it or heard it out loud. Only typed on our Discord, so I'm embarrassing myself. I'm basically Bob. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But it's a great pick. I mean, the chart is great, super great. For the most part, great. I mean, single is early. I think it's probably too overvalued, honestly. And actually, I will say, like, Lasky has one of my favorite teams in the draft. So when I'm not throwing shade here, I think I think his whole package is pretty incredible. I just like, and the one thing I will say that the reason I do really like this pick is second base as a whole was not totally deep when it came to a great, like, basically, like, LeMahieu is the Robbie Alomar of this set.
Yep.
And then there is steep drop off. And then, like, you get to, like, high 300s second basemen, because that's one of the ones I picked. So I think what he looked at is, like, there's not depth there. I'm going to get the best second baseman. And I know that most other positions have depth. And so from that angle, I love the pick. I don't know if I would have done it, but I do see what he was going for, and I dig it. So,
yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys, like, you can plug him as your leadoff, or he could be your second hitter because he kind of does a lot.
Yeah, I think he would be solidly second hitter, and just hopefully, and I don't know if he did, but I hopefully speed A right in front of him, and then single at 8. That's great. Not a ton of walks. That's a solid thing. The ground ball thing worries me. We are now going to keep track of own chart outs in this league, so we're going to be able to see, and own chart double plays. I have to figure out a way to track that, because that's just the worst thing. So anyway, all right, moving forward, 9th pick. Cannot believe you dropped this far. I made a joke that said if he dropped to me at 12, I was taking him, but I didn't have to make the decision, was Shane Bieber. So this was picked by Kevin, who Raleigh Fingers, who has been in our, and actually I should probably be using the team names for most of these, which I'll go back through, but Raleigh Fingers, Lucy Deuces, he's been in our leagues before. He actually prioritized physical sports over a virtual showdown draft. So he wasn't drafting his own team, but a really good buddy of mine from high school tagged in to just kind of get a feel for it. And yeah, I love the pick. I mean, my God, like I probably would have picked Bieber over Bauer if I had the choice. I think the extra control is worth the extra walk. But yeah, no, this card's just fantastic. So I don't see I can't wait to see. I think he actually faces Garrett Cole first, assuming Cole pitches one, which people can set the rotation. I think it's going to be Bieber versus Cole first game in that, which I think is just going to be a blast. I'm like, it's funny, like we keep scoring these leagues and I'm trying to not do that as much just for my own sanity and people not relying, but like I want to like watch these games, so it makes sense for me to score. So, but it's a great card. It's such a great card. All right, so going to number 10. This was Bob, the Bourbon Over Baseball Bob, our Bob, the famous Bob, and love the pick. Went with Zach Plesac. I think this is probably like the most like confusing great card in the set, because like people are just like, why does Zach Plesac have a 600-point showdown card? And hey,
because he was amazing until he started going out to like bars and shit.
Exactly right. Because he got suspended mid-season, I think.
Yeah.
So he had he had an incredible season from what he pitched. So maybe we should have had a negative COVID, salary thing. Justin Turner.
But he didn't even have a negative COVID.
No, that's true. That's true. Justin Turner should be like a 10-point card. Actually, we should make him unusable. Just
well, he didn't get drafted, so.
No, that's true. So that's the punishment. But man, I like this card in terms of IP7s. I think this card's incredible. I mean, it's a standard chart, the 17 walk, 18-19 single, 20 double, control 5. But man, you're right. Kind of like you said before, not using many relievers in this game.
That's the hope.
He could probably go complete games, truthfully.
Yeah.
And that is so incredibly important in this league that I think we're going to find out. So, all right. So moving forward, going to our buddy Greg, win, dance, repeat, won our league last year. It would have been interesting, and I'll have to get some information to see if he would have picked Plesac if it came to him. His pick was Adam Wainwright.
I had heard that it was going to be Wainwright no matter what.
Really? Okay, because I assume
through my sources.
Through your sources, they're similar. He has a little bit more ground balls, I think. Let's see. He has more ground balls, one less control point, similar, basically the same chart ish. The IP7 thing is huge, and I think in terms of the money you save, the 120 points, it's probably Wainwright. I get it. I think it's a very solid pick.
With Win Dance Repeats teams, he's very balanced. He doesn't go get the 550-point players, and if he does, there's very few. He balances his team all the way through.
Yep. If we ran an analysis of like the variation between your top pick and your lowest pick, and like kind of like the median essentially, his is probably the highest, honestly, because his is
maybe not lowest, but if you look at first and 10th pick, that'd probably be really interesting.
Right. He's so balanced, and he picked balanced guys the entire draft. Whereas, some guys are picking 620-point Soto, and then they have to get 10-point relievers and things like that. Win, dance, repeat was interesting. I think it's the right team, and I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to be, I'll kick myself if I'm wrong, but I think his team only has one below 100-point player. Something like that.
That would make sense. Yeah.
It's something like, I think that's it. I can probably check it to confirm, but we want to keep moving. But when we do a team analysis, you'll see it. He has an interesting team, and you can't, the way he plays, like he has a very specific style that won him a World Series. I've learned a lot from how he plays in terms of like kind of bringing it into my own strategy. The guy wins. You play to win. It's our league joke. You play to win. You don't hold out guys, you play to win that game. So, and he is he does that. And I think this pick shows that. So, okay, going to number 12. This was my pick. I cannot freaking believe this guy fell to me at 12. And I am so psyched he did, because it made my decision so easy. Was Freddie Freeman. Top 5 bat, or top 3 bat. The top 5 players, he was solidly in that. And my strategy was solidly first 2 picks in the first and second round was get the best batters available. Ignore defense, ignore speed for the most part, ignore those. Just get the best on base and the best chart in terms of what you see. And I'm very happy with this pick. I don't love the speed. I don't love the defense. He's 1 to 3 out. He doubles at 16. The walk range is somewhat large, and he's on base 11. Oh my God. I just did not expect this. I was planning him to be gone, and I had my list of who I would be picking next after this. And really the tough part was not, I kind of had 1-2 picks kind of ready to go. And then Freeman kind of threw it into a blender in a way, because I knew what my number 1 was going to be, but my number 2 became a little tougher. So, I love this card. I can't wait till he underperforms for me. Just kidding.
For an 11 to have a 16 through 18 double, that's going to pay off huge for you.
I hope so. He's my number 2 without question. I have a number 1, which he's not in my first 2 rounds, but I got Tim LaCastro. He's an on base 9. He's an on base 9 or on base 10. He's an on base 10, speed A, incredible chart. He will get on second. And then, my God, I hope Freddie Freeman's hitting him home often. So I stuck on the Braves train, and I went with, this was a tough second pick, but I went with Marcell Ozuna for a lot of reasons, because he's great. His on base is great. He has a shit ton of homers. And I think the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge on getting him was that 1 to 3 out. I was, and let me see if I can find him really quickly. I was between him really and Trey Turner. Probably the next best bat available. Trey Turner had bad infield defense. That was fine. I didn't really care. He was speed A, on base 10. I would have loved that for number 1. I just got worried about the 1 to 5 out, which maybe I was getting too worried about that, but I was okay with more walks on Ozuna. He has more home runs, even though I should say Trey Turner has a pretty solid chart too, but it was a toss up. I kind of was expecting to go Ozuna, Trey Turner was my 1-2. And then I had to decide between them, but I'm not, he's my 3. I went for heavy hitters. My strategy, and I'll go into our team breakdown. I gave up on starting pitching. I have an incredible bullpen, and I have an incredible lineup. It's just going to be interesting to see if I can keep it going on that.
I think the fun thing is to kind of watch strategies unfold, and because you and me we talk so much between each other about team building and all that fun stuff. But with mine, this is probably one of the first drafts that I actually looked at the cards before the draft.
Right.
And just was taking a dive, and it's just funny how it played out, because like I said, I had Cole written as my second round pick. I was going to take Cole, and I started with, it was Acuna, and then Arozarena, and then Cole. I was hoping Cole would be there in the second. I wasn't sure how it would play out yet. And then after that, I had Fernando Tatis Jr. and Mookie Betts, and both of them were there when it was my second pick. And I was like, oh crap,
dude. Right. And we'll get to, we'll get to your second. You actually, I feel like the way you planned out, and you mentioned this, most of your picks throughout the first 6 rounds went to somewhat plan.
They did. All of them did.
All of them
except
did.
for
right.
one,
which is such a dream, right? Because that never happens. I was kind of changing on the fly a little bit. I was trying to find the balance between great relievers and still getting great batters, which I think I flubbed up a little bit in the middle of the draft. And that's kind of, we talked about starting the draft early. I think one of the great things about drafting live like we did is people mess up. And I think that's great. And you have to, that's your team. And we're all working with 5,000 points. So it's not like it's not like your team is just noticeably bad, noticeably worse than others, but those little things matter,
And that's what I've learned in drafting. So we're doing these drafts, and we say, oh, I'm going to take best available. You don't have to take the best available, because no matter what, everybody's working under the same salary. If it was, hey, there's no salary, you better take one of the best available players. But like I could literally have my first 4 picks be 10-point guys, and then back end the draft when everybody else doesn't have any money left, and we're still all going to have the same balance of a team basically.
Right. Exactly. So,
But I got the better 10-point players. It's a
you
weird,
did.
another weird strategy. Like,
Right. Right. So anyway, I'm psyched about my 1-2. Um, I hope I hit a lot of home runs. I really
Osuna should. He
Osuna
definitely
should.
should.
Freeman's going to hit a lot of doubles, extra base hits. LeCastro better get on base, so he's scoring. I expect that Freeman and Osuna are going to have a ton of RBIs, and that's my hope.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Osuna kicked off the second round, so I snake draft, so I was starting there. Going back to win, dance, repeat. Marcana. Like I said, balanced. I mean, this
is such a win, dance, repeat pick. That's when I heard you.
Right. And he had kind of mentioned that he was and he knew what my strategy was, and I wasn't picking Marcana. And he mentioned this, and I was like, dude, this card's awesome. I mean, a lot of walks, but I mean, it does so many damn things at once that I think for the points, it's absolutely worth it. And this kind of, again, exemplifies his balanced draft approach. So anyway, love the pick. We'll probably I'm going to go a little quicker on the second round, just so we can keep this pod moving, but love the Kana pick. Also love how the Athletics cards looks. They're always the best. Yeah. So, all right. So going back, this is Bob's second pick, Trevor Story. He's great. He mashes. This card is this rips.
He was in my list of guys to target, and then he just fell out of favor because I wanted somebody else more than him.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm like, I've actually come around. I think on base eights who can rake are great. While I did not mean for that to rhyme, and it totally did. But I should just start rhyming everything on this pod. And so, but yeah, I just I don't know if I could have justified spending. I don't know. It just fell a little much for me. I guess there's a lot of points for the infield defense, which I just don't care at all about. The speed matters. I mean, I don't know on his team. I don't know what his team makeup is, but I don't think Story leads off. I don't think he should. But I also believe you put, I mean, because he picked Plesac with his one. Again, we'll look more into his team, but it had to have been definitely a managerial decision in terms of a strategy and can kind of fit in. So I don't know.
I would like Story as a number 2 hitter. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's true. Mistake pitches in our league.
Oh, he's deadly.
Yeah, if you roll one, it doesn't matter who you're against. It's probably going on the batter, and you want like charts like this. So anyway, all right. So going back, this is Raleigh Fingers, Kevin, and this is an interesting pick. Really, really interesting pick. So first thought before I even get to this pick itself, I was surprised it took to this, even though it's going to sound wild. It took to 16, number pick 16, for us to see a reliever get picked. I thought that by the end of the first round, there were 3 tier 0 relievers. It was Jesse Hahn, Devin Williams, and Nick Anderson.
Yeah.
So I thought those guys would start getting picked up late first round and kind of start that reliever exodus, or reliever really the mania that's every draft has it, where people start picking relievers, they start panicking and picking relievers too early. I would not exemplify this as that type of pick, though.
No, I think this is more of the new rules pick.
Exactly. This is I was really my plan for my third round and fourth round pick was reliever, and I guess I was optimistic that Quantrill would be there. I love this card. I mean, I think there's only like 20-ish guys that have multiple IPs, multiple innings for relievers. And he was the best. He was the best one in terms of those.
He is a nice pickup.
Not even the most points. I love the pick. Love the pick. So anyway, I think it's going to matter in our new league. So our new rules. All right, moving forward, going back to Lasky, Angels in the Trout Field. Incredible team name. Trey Turner, not a surprise. Probably should have gone earlier. I think this was probably another player that I did not expect to fall so far. He does so many things. And I think punting on the infield defense is totally okay when there's so many good second baseman defense and third baseman defense. So I wish I could have had this card. Like I said, if Freddie Freeman was gone, it was probably going to be Trey Turner, Ozuna. So, okay. going forward, this was the guy who drafted that had to bail out. We get everybody ready for garbage Mike Trout. Here we go. Just total trash, right?
How did
Oh my
Angels
gosh.
in the Trout field pass him up twice?
I he was on my I kind of, again, like if more batters got picked early, like I was gonna have questions about, like, I would have taken this card. I love this card. I mean, on base 8 homer at 16 is just so
and
great.
like we had the discussion about a Rosarena or Trout.
Yep.
Because it's the same, almost the same.
Would you have considered him at 3? Or like
it came down when I picked a Rosarena, I mean, this is like a day before that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a Rosarena if he's there. Or Acuna, then a Rosarena. But then with Trout, it's the same, not the same chart, but very comparable. But a Rosarena has 2 doubles and single pluses, and I think that outweighed the speed A for me.
Yeah, I agree. Trout still has too many walks here.
Yeah.
But I think here's your leadoff hitter, locks it up. I think that's perfect.
Absolutely.
So, okay. This is going back to AJ, the Judgment Day T800s. There's his team name. We saw some pitchers go in the next few picks here. Max Fried. Is that Fried or Fried? I don't know.
I think it's Fried, but who cares?
I think it is Fried. I think it is Fried. So it's frying my brain. God, that's the worst joke. I'm sorry, everyone.
You a dad?
Yeah, no, I'm not, but it just can't help it. So, this card's great. I mean, I think the IP5 is probably the worst part for spending over 500 points, but it's really good. It's a really good number 1 starter. This is I would say, outside of the anomaly starting pitchers, like, kind of DeGrom, or rather Cole, Bauer, and Bieber. I think this is where you start to get into that lower tier, not tier like in terms of the cards, but you have like DeGrom, Fried. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And I think he's solidly in that. So I don't think it's a bad pick. I think there was a lot of good pitchers there. So that's where my strategy wasn't like, you could have waited and still got an incredible starting pitcher if you wanted to spend the money. So, but anyway, all right, moving forward, going to pick 20. This is our buddy Kyle. His team is the Oakville Trojans. Going for Dallas Keuchel. So I like this pick more than Fried. I think that the higher IP, the control, the no doubles. I mean, this is always the card I love. So it's basically, you have to spend extra money, but it's like Tony Armas, or not Tony Armas. Oh my gosh, it's like Aaron Nola's card back in 2018. I think he was a control 5 as well. That card rocks. Yeah. He did so well. So going to pick 21. This is back to Nate. The Ducks on the Pond. Definitely shouting out one of our strategy cards that we never use, but I love the name. Sandy Alcantara. Might have said that wrong, but like I said, I need to funnel or channel our buddy Bob through this. So again, I probably would have waited getting here like for this pick, but like we said, Kyle and I talked about, his strategy was getting great starting pitchers, and I think this is an incredibly solid number 2, especially given the points.
I think the walks just make it pop out to me.
Yep. I think I think this card could be more points, not a ton, maybe a couple like 10 or 20, 30 more points. And I think it would still be worth it. And I think, he's just gonna, given Trevor Bauer is his number 1, and then he goes to Sandy. And then I know he has great 3 and 4. I mean, he's just gonna, no matter what pitcher, no matter what game you're pitching against him, it's going to be really good. So, or he's going to have good guys. So I love this card, and it's a big ground ball range, and I think he has a decent infield, or at least the opportunity for double plays is always great. So, okay, number 22, Matt, this is back to you. Mookie Betts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, this card rocks. It's just another one that's like, you don't even have to explain it. Like, I think anybody looks at this card and just knows how much it rocks.
Yeah, I was pretty excited that he was there. I didn't think him or Tatis were going to get out of the first round, let alone back to me. Mm-hmm. And basically when it came down to the 2, I took the +2 outfield defense, because you're already getting an awesome card in Mookie Betts, and they're already similar. So I was like, you know what, I'll take the +2 outfield defense, short of that up. And like I said, I had another shortstop in mind, so I was just kind of like, I'll go with Betts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, there's really nothing glaringly wrong with this card. Maybe the 1-5 out is the worst thing.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of there at
does
this
he lead
point.
off for you?
I think I have him listed as my leadoff hitter. Yeah.
Okay, that makes. I mean, chart rips. The outfield defense. I talk about how infield defense doesn't matter as much. I think infield or outfield defense does with the rules we use, where it definitely
Mm-hmm.
the base running you get some pretty solid advantages. That might be something looking forward in the future we touch up a bit just to try to even it out. But I mean, I like more scoring is always fun, but I think like having a great outfield is at least a way to hold, especially now that we're solidly speed C, B, and A.
Yeah.
Being able to definitively hold those speed C and B's is an important thing, especially the B's. C's are generally getting held up. A's are usually always going, but B's is kind of that sweet spot where you want to try to hold them. So getting a solid outfield always matters. So, okay. And number pick 23, getting back around. This is our buddy Nick with the big dogs, Zach Davies. I love this card. It's kind of like Alcantara, or sorry, it's like Keuchel. Just gets there's the extra single there, the extra walk. And then he has the control 5. I love this card. I love cards that don't give up doubles. Probably a little bit too many singles, but I think he'll do well. I think he'll do really well. These cards, I mean, if somebody rolls high in you just can't stop it. It doesn't matter. But at least if they're rolling 20, 20, 20, it's not, instantly 2 or 3 runs. It's more like maybe 1 run with it only being singles. So, and then the last pick of the draft, going back to Matt H, Josie Ramirez, which I freaking love this card. And I had him actually on my radar for my second round pick when I end up picking Azuna, depending on who was picked. I mean, he's great. I mean, a lot of walks. I guess the single 11's not my favorite, but he's fast. He's on the on base. He would have been my definitively number 1. Super worked out for me that I ended up getting a great number 1 speed A leadoff hitter. So, but I love this pick. And he spent a lot of points on his first like 6 guys. It was like the majority of his salary. And then he had to really back up. It's so funny because his like first 8 picks are like all like 400 and 500 point players, including a 600 pointer, with Acuna. And then when there's a certain point in like the 9th, 10th round, you just see it start going 10 points, 10 points, 30 points, 20 points. Like he just had to do it. He had to eventually even it out. So anyway, well, everyone, hopefully enjoy that. Like I said, if you don't know the set, I'll put the link in there that you can take a look at it. I think if you don't know the set, this is a great intro to some of the best players and how they get used in a draft scenario. But yeah, any kind of last remarks, Matt, on the draft in general?
No, I think if people are just finding this and don't know much about our Discord or our league, I would say definitely try and find your way in if you're interested to keep up with it. Because I think following leagues is fun anyways, just to kind of see the stories that develop. And, we have a great group of guys. We all bust each other's balls all the time and just have tons of fun with it. So I think it's a fun group to be a part of.
100%.
Regardless of if your team's a crappy team or a winning team.
Right. I mean, like I'm almost like in a weird way. I can't believe I'm saying this on a recorded podcast, but I'm almost okay that my team did really badly last season, just because like it like honestly brought me more joy seeing like the other teams and how they were performing and kind of putting vested interest in certain players and seeing how they did in the playoffs and things. And that's definitely kind of the energy I'm bringing into it. Like and I know everybody might think I'm lying, but I could care less how my team does in the season. Of course I'm going to play to win, but if I start losing, like that's fine. Like there's 11 other teams and 11 other guys that I can't wait to play my games out with. And can't wait to just honestly just be playing Showdown in a general sense. And this league might it's probably gonna take a handful of months. A lot of guys are in Cleveland. It's not entirely crazy that eventually I'm getting we're all getting vaccinated, that we can play these games in person, and I cannot freaking wait for that. So so hopefully this we're still gonna, I've talked about this before, we're gonna continue playing TTS because there's a lot of guys that aren't in Cleveland, but I think the fact that we're gonna be able to do that and do in person is just kind of almost best of both worlds. So but yeah, like Matt said, if you haven't joined the Discord, please do. If you don't know what Discord is, I would recommend looking it up. A year ago, I didn't know what it was either, pre-pandemic, and now I pay for it, so I think that's there's no better, there's no better way to show, how much you love something than paying for it. So, so anyway, thanks everybody. Of course I'll put Matt and I's, our Twitters in the description. Hit us up with questions. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like. Appreciate you guys listening as always. So, all right, we'll see everybody.